How's it going, everyone? DFS Phenom here. If you like this content, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to my channel. Really appreciate it. I need those subscriptions to keep this channel running. So if you like this content, please subscribe. Now let's get into this DFS Sunday slate. Let's look at this Sunday slate. It has 10 games on it. First one I want to look at is Jared Goff going against the San Francisco defense that's allowed 14 touchdowns through the air in the last 6 games, and they only have 1 interception. They're also allowing 300 yards through the air. If you look at what Jared Goff has done this season, Denver last week, he dropped off. He had 8 points, but the rest of the season he's been up, close to 20 or above. So I really like him in this spot going against this San Francisco defense that was destroyed last week against so-so Green Bay offense. He's at 6,600, so he roughly has to get you 30 points. I can see him getting that 2 to 3 touchdowns that San Francisco is allowing through the air. I can see Jared Goff getting those as well. Another one I want to look at is Drew Brees going against this Baltimore defense. They're also allowing roughly 300 yards through the air, but they're only allowing 6 touchdowns per game through the air, and they also have 5 interceptions. They have 4.5 sacks on a year per game. So Drew Brees, I like him in this spot at 5,700. One thing that I looked at, this Baltimore defense, a lot of the DBs are making the tackles. So what that is telling me is these offenses are getting into that second level of the defense. So they're allowing yardage per catch, but they're not breaking basically when it comes down to the red zone, and they're only allowing 1 score per game. So I look for Drew Brees to have 1 or 2 touchdowns through the air. Again, they're going up against a stingy defense in Baltimore, at Baltimore. So he kind of is a little bit of a risky play, but I look for him to, do his thing, and I think he's going to get you value. Last one I want to look at for quarterbacks is C.J. Beathard. Like I said, they're going up against Los Angeles Rams. They're going to be playing from behind in this game. The Rams allowed 10 touchdowns through the air this season, so roughly 1.5, 2 touchdowns per game through the air. They're also have had 5 interceptions this year. But the big thing that I want to point out with Beathard is he's 4,800. Last week against Green Bay, he put up 18 DraftKings points. So that's already 3 times his value. If you can do that against this LA Rams defense, which I think he will because they're going to be playing from behind, it'd be a great value pickup for your roster. That way you can get the bigger names in your lineup. So overall, I'm going to go with Jared Goff for the video. I'm going to go ahead and put him in there. Next up are running backs. I'm not going to talk about Todd Gurley because you know what he's about. I'm not going to talk about Alvin Kamara because you know what he's about. Only thing I'm going to say about Alvin Kamara is he may be a risky play since Mark Ingram has come back. Mark Ingram has taken away those goal line touches, so he kind of scares me at that price, but I just want to put that input in before I go on with this video. But the one I want to look at is Ezekiel Elliott. Last 4 weeks, he's really produced. It looks like Cowboys have kind of found their identity somewhat, going up against Jacksonville. He had 21 DraftKings points, had 106 yards on the ground, 1 touchdown. He had 1 target for 11 yards. So at 8,100, he's got to get you roughly 24 DraftKings points. He's about there on a season average. But the one thing I want to point out against this Washington defense, they're allowing 22 DraftKings points per game for running backs. So that's one reason why I really like Elliott in this spot. Like I said, he's got to get you 24 DraftKings points to hit value. And I really see him getting there. Washington's allowing 22 DraftKings points, so I really like Elliott in this spot. Another one I want to look at, if you guys haven't been watching much of the sports news, there's a trade in Cleveland, sent Carlos Hyde to Jacksonville, and then which left an opening in Cleveland's running back depth chart. So I want to look at Duke Johnson for 4,000. There's going to be an uptick in his snaps. Duke Johnson is actually a receiving back. If you look at what he's done against Chargers last week, he got you 15 DraftKings points. He's at 4,000 right now, so he's definitely hitting value. Look for his touches to increase now that Hyde is gone. Hyde was sucking up a lot of those touches and a lot of those snaps. Another one that I wouldn't mind looking at is Nick Chubb as well. I don't see him getting as many touches as Duke Johnson will, just because he's a rookie. You know, they're starting to feel out the game. So Duke Johnson will start. But Nick Chubb's at 3,700 isn't a bad value as well. There's one more value that I really like to hit on, which he cost me a lot last week in my lineup. It's TJ Yeldon. If you look at their roster, Fournette's out again this week. TJ Yeldon had 10 DraftKings points last week against Dallas. They're going up against this Houston defense. But I'm not necessarily pointing out Yeldon. If Yeldon has a game like he did last week against Dallas, I've been reading reports where you could see Carlos Hyde in that backfield getting snaps already, and he's only been there a day. So at 4,700, here's another sneaky play that a lot of people may not play. Carlos Hyde. He really hasn't done a whole lot last 2 games, but Oakland 14, and they're not really going to show who he played, but week 3 he had 24 DraftKings points. Against New Orleans he had 12, and then week 1 he had 13 against Pittsburgh. So another one kind of throw out there for value, kind of help you in your lineups. A little bit riskier play, but maybe a play that a lot of people aren't really looking at. So I'm going to go ahead and put Duke Johnson in for my other running back. Wide receivers, I have a couple wide receivers I want to look at. First one I want to look at is I'm going to go with Woods, Robert Woods. I'm going to stack him with Jared Goff. Last week against Denver, he had 10 targets for 109 yards, and he didn't have a touchdown, and he still got 22 DraftKings points. If you look at what he's done this season, 19, 24, 36, 14. He's only had one single-digit game, and that was week 1 against Oakland. Cooper Kupp is out this week against San Francisco. So I look for Robert Woods targets to stay the same. If you want to look at Brandon Cooks, I believe a lot of people are going to be on Robert Woods. But if you want to look at Brandon Cooks, he's 7,100, but he's not really seeing the targets that Robert Woods is. Week 5, he was injured. He came back against Denver in week 6. He had 6 targets. He only got 7 DraftKings points. He had 8 targets against Minnesota, 8 targets against Chargers, 9 targets against Arizona, and 8 targets against Oakland. So he's getting his targets. They're averaging about 8 a game. But I really like Robert Woods in this spot. So I'm going to go ahead and stack him with Jared Goff. Next receiver I like is at 3,700, Traquan Smith. Ted Ginn is out again. Here's another big value play. Last week against Washington, he had 2 touchdowns on 3 receptions, 111 yards, and he got you 29 DraftKings points. So he got you 10 times your value. So look for him to fill in again for Ted Ginn. I really look for his snaps to increase after that big game he had against Washington. He's going to be playing on the slot, so look for him to get open. Another one to kind of pivot off of Smith would be Meredith, but overall, I think Smith is going to be your best bet at 3,700. I really like his value, and I really like his upside, obviously, because you can see it. He was roughly 3,300 last week, and he got you 30 DraftKings points. So I really, really like his upside. And then the last value pick for wide receiver I want to point out is Fuller. He's at 5,500. They're going up against Jacksonville. And he really hasn't produced as of late. Last 2 weeks, I believe, he's kind of fallen off. He got you 5 DraftKings points against Buffalo and 3 against Dallas. They're going up against this Jacksonville defensive backfield where Ramsey should be covering Hopkins this whole game. Look for Deshaun Watson to go Fuller's way and get him back to that, week 3, 11 targets. I don't see Hopkins, getting a lot of targets because they're going up against Ramsey. Ramsey is a shutdown cornerback. So, like I said, those targets got to go somewhere, and they're going to go to Fuller. So look for him to be another value pick. Tight ends. I have 3 tight ends I really like. First one is Kittles. At 5,000. A little pricey. Like I said, against this Rams defense, they're going to be playing from behind. And he's averaging about 7 targets a game. I really don't have to go back on it, but last season when Beathard was in as starting quarterback, he targeted Kittles a lot. They were also roommates in college, so he got that chemistry already built up. So against Green Bay, he had 7 DraftKings points, but if you look at everything else, he had 13, 27, and 14. So like I said, that 5,000 price point is a little high for me, but I don't mind it. I think he's going to have a big game paired with Beathard. Another one I like is O.J. Howard. Going up against his Cleveland defense. In 6 games, they allowed 44 targets to the tight ends. So that's roughly, 6 targets a game for the tight ends. It also looks like now Winston is back in this starting lineup. He's really targeting Howard over Brate. Howard is 3,600, so I really like him in this spot as well. I picked him a couple weeks ago against Chicago. He went out with a knee injury, and he didn't give me any points, so it kind of shot me in the foot. But I like Howard overall this game against Cleveland. Like I said, they're giving up about 6 targets a game. If you look at what he's done, he's got 4 targets for 62 yards and a touchdown last week against Atlanta. I'll look for him to do about the same this week against Cleveland. So that will leave you, 11,000 between two positions. Defense, I really don't mind the Rams, like I said before, going up against San Francisco. I really don't mind the Eagles as well, going up against Carolina. Bears against New England, that's a little bit, of a risky play, but New England's been hit and miss this year. I really don't mind the Bears at 2,500. I think it can get you 10 points. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug them in just to see where we're at. So it leaves you with 9,000. If you want to come up, you can get Thielen, you can get Kamara if you want, Michael Thomas. So those big names I really like. Let's see what Thielen's doing against this New York Jets. Oh yeah, his targets, double-digit targets every week. Don't mind that at all. I'm gonna go ahead and plug him in here just to finish out this lineup. So yeah, those are my picks for this week. Like always, give me some feedback. Let me know what you guys think of these picks. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.